I just need a moment of silence because watching a Final Destination movie in the theaters, there is no experience quite like it. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't get super excited about Final Destination Bloodlines until this year. Like when they first announced it, I was like, great, another franchise installment. We don't need it, right? But it is one of those franchises that I will watch every single installment of, just like Saw. And something about Final Destination is just one of my comfort franchises. I love these movies. You guys already know how much I love these movies. And I was worried that, one, we didn't need a new one. Two, there wouldn't be anything new to offer to the franchise at all. And three, it would be bad. It would be cheesy and bad. But then I allowed myself to get really excited, and this is the first movie this year that I have felt like giddy getting in the car to go see it. Like I was just so excited to go see the new Final Destination movie in theaters. And at the very least, I knew I was gonna be in for a good time. Like these movies always promise a good time, whether or not they're great movies in and of themselves. They're usually fun. So that's what I was kind of expecting going into it, and I think that my excitement was definitely justified and validated by this movie. First, I just want to thank Mint Mobile for sponsoring today's video. I am very excited to be working with them. Mint Mobile has completely challenged the industry norms when it comes to wireless plans and switching your phone plans. No monthly phone bills, no paying for features that you don't need, just a premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. Now you might be thinking, no monthly phone bills. What's that about? Mint Mobile offers bulk buying your plans, which I think is a fantastic idea. It's so convenient and it gives you the option to save more money. You can decide between a 3-month, a 6-month, or a 12-month plan, and the more you buy upfront, the bigger the savings are going to be. You can also choose from different data options because it is not one size fits all. I feel like not everyone has the same data needs. So you can choose between 5, 15, and 20 gigs or unlimited. So you're paying for exactly the amount of data that you need. And don't be intimidated by the actual switching process because Mint Mobile has made it extremely easy and seamless. You can sign up and activate your eSIM all online from the comfort of your own home. And let me tell you, I think that is the best feature about Mint Mobile. As someone who has previously been screwed over by salespeople in the store when you go in person to do your switching or sign up for a new phone plan, being able to switch at home and just select the things that you personally need without salespeople trying to get you to sign up for more things and spend more money than you need to, that is amazing. All of Mint Mobile's plans come with a 7-day money-back guarantee if you're not sure that you'll love the switch. Also, you can bring your own phone if you choose to. They do have a selection to shop from as well, but you can also keep your original number and all of your original contacts in your phone. At the link below, new customers can get their premium wireless plans that start at $15 a month. Okay, let's get into my review of Final Destination Bloodlines. Plagued by a violent and recurring nightmare, a college student heads home to track down the one person who might be able to break the cycle of death and save her family from the grisly demise that inevitably waits them all. Where do I even begin with this movie? Firstly, the way that they explain the 14-year gap between movies was, I think, genius. I think it was the perfect way to expand upon the Final Destination universe. Now, I have seen some people say it kind of creates plot holes because it's semi-been addressed before. And I will explain it a little bit more in spoilers. And of course, I want to talk about my favorite death, you know, and the ending and Tony Todd's scene in detail and all of that jazz. So we will be doing spoilers. But I thought that this would just be like another premonition, another group of young people who have been saved by this premonition and then death picks them off one by one. Like we know the Final Destination formula. And I thought for sure it was going to continue that. But I thought what they brought to this movie and what they updated, I guess you would say, or like the addition to the story and the rules of death, I thought was so fascinating. And just the way that it unfolded in the movie, I was really impressed by. There is like a semi-plot dump, but then it kind of clicks later and it's just like this revelation moment and it's like, oh my God, like it's so much bigger than we realize, and death is so much bigger and has way more impact. And I really liked that expansion because something like this, another movie, it needed that expansion. It needed to push it further than it ever has. We can't just do the same thing that we've already done. They could have, actually. We could have done that. It probably would have been fine, and I still would have enjoyed it you know, to some degree. But this was just way beyond my expectations. Like, there is so much packed into this movie, and it has all of the elements that you want in a Final Destination movie, and it is the longest Final Destination movie as well, at 1 hour and 50 minutes, and they packed it full. Like, there's so much going on. I'd say the body count is pretty comparable to the other Final Destination movies, and if you have seen those, you kind of know what to expect in this one. It's very similar, but they changed some of the things and some of the formula of a traditional Final Destination movie. But I was impressed with how much they actually put into this movie, all of the story and how they go about explaining everything, and it could have been really messy. And yes, sometimes it leans a little cheesy, but it's a Final Destination movie. They all do. They all have a little cheesy moment, a cheesy element, things going on. I do have some criticisms of it. I'm not going to do my traditional things I liked and didn't like, because this movie is near perfect to me, okay? I don't know if that's going to be a controversial take, but I love this movie, okay? But I do have criticisms of it. Firstly, the CGI, specifically in the beginning premonition scene. Yes, it is intense. How would they even do that practically? I don't think they can without the biggest budget ever. So of course they're going to use a lot of CGI. It didn't look fantastic all the time. I feel like if this is one of those where it's so fast paced that if you were to pause it on certain things, it would look terrible. But because it's so fast, it still hits really well, you know what I mean? Like, it still has that punch, even if it technically looks a little bit bad, because there's just no way that they could have pulled off this beginning premonition practically. And I feel like every scene goes about it similarly. And by every scene, I mean like every premonition scene in each of the movies. Also, I will say the effects get a little bit later when it's more of like the individual deaths versus the collective premonition scene. And one of my other criticisms is that I feel like the main character does that thing where sometimes authors will do this, where they're kind of a neutral person in a way. They obviously have their own backstory and their, you know, own story to tell and their own perception of the world and everything. But I feel like Stephanie in this one was a little bit flatter. She's not my favorite protagonist of all the Final Destination movies. Still a strong lead. Like, I thought she did great in carrying the story, but I still feel like there are stronger protagonists. And I think that's due to one thing that I don't know if it's a spoiler, so I'm going to save it for spoilers. I feel like that kind of threw me off a little bit, and I'm not sure if I loved it or not, but it was a major change involving the visionary and the protagonist. I did love all the side characters, and I really enjoyed how unique they felt, and they all kind of were likable in their own ways, even when they weren't. I don't know. I feel like all of the Final Destination movies have that in common, where there's just a collective group of random characters, and in this case it's a family, but they're still all like unique and bring something to the movie, and they all have their own personalities. They all had something different and unique going on, which I really appreciated. Personally, I have to agree with the people saying this is one of the best premonition scenes of the franchise. I mean, it's obviously better than 4. I think that's something we all collectively agree, that 4 is bad. And I was nervous this would be another 4. And I wasn't sure what they were gonna do for the premonition scene, but what they chose to do I thought was genius. I thought it was perfect. The great amount of dread and really preying on people's fears in the best way. So I would say believe them that this opening premonition scene holds up to the entire franchise. And I think it is very deserved to be in this franchise. Like, it was intense. This movie, I feel like, still managed to surprise me, even though by this point, I think we're all very familiar with Final Destination movies and how they typically play out, but I was very pleasantly surprised at the ways that this movie managed to still surprise me. They of course build up scenes where you think you know what's going to happen, and then they do that cheesy thing where, oh, nope, just kidding, that's not what's going to happen. They set up little hints along the way, but I feel like they did it in this one in a way that was still really fun and playful. Like, this movie offered a playful atmosphere to the death scenes, which I think they all do, so that's not necessarily saying much. But, you know, they make you think one thing is going to happen, and then they blindside you and do that, but it still was surprising. You know, by the 6th one, you'd think it wouldn't be. but somehow they managed to still surprise me along the way, and I was very happy about that. Now, Tony Todd, I want to talk about, and I'm going to try to do it without crying. I can already feel it. I'm not going to do that. So the directors threw out his final line, the scripted line that was planned, and they said to talk directly to the viewers, anything you want to let them know. And that scene I knew was coming. I saw beforehand that that was happening. I knew seeing Tony Todd in this movie was going to be emotional. This was his last movie, I believe, that he worked on. And so it just felt like such a final scene to me when he walked out of the door, and he was obviously visibly sick at the time. And it was just a very, very difficult scene. Like, it was so impactful. I did not think I would cry like I did in this scene. Now, it did have something to do with the fact that my stepdad passed from cancer and looked very, very similar to Tony Todd in his final days. And there was so much more explored with William Bloodsworth's character, Tony Todd's character, that I was very excited by. And again, we'll talk about that in spoilers. But overall, this movie was so much more on so many levels than I thought it was going to be. I feel like it had a little bit more of that grief element, especially in the end, than the other movies typically do. And it kind of held that moment a little bit longer than the other Final Destination movies, so that impacted me as well. So overall, it was incredible. I had so much fun watching this. It's been a while since I had that much fun, like laughing and being grossed out and shocked, and just like, it's literally everything that I want in a Final Destination movie. And for that, I give it a 5 out of 5. I know that's probably very dramatic, but I'm just going off of how passionate I am about this movie. It's not necessarily perfect, but it's perfect to me. And I really wouldn't change anything, because the things that I criticized can't really be changed without millions and millions more dollars. So let's get into spoilers and talk about Tony Todd's character a little bit more and his backstory. And let's talk about my favorite death and all of that jazz. Yeah, let's get into it. So let's talk about William Bloodsworth. So we finally get an origin for him, and I thought it was the perfect way to end that character, because obviously he will never return, and I thought it was a great way to finalize his character and finally get a glimpse to his history, to his backstory, and why he knows so much about death. So our beginning scene, our visionary, it turns out our protagonist is not our visionary. Okay, so Stephanie is not the one who's having this premonition. I mean, she kind of is, but she's having nightmares about it because it's been passed down to her, because her grandmother was Iris, who was our visionary in the beginning. And she saved hundreds of people that day. So she convinced everyone that the building was going to collapse. She stopped the penny, the little kid throwing pennies, stopped him from throwing it. So that kind of like derailed Death's plan naturally, and she saved everyone on that tower that night, including William Bloodsworth. He was there. Yes, he was. He was a child, and he was also supposed to die, obviously, in this tragedy, and he was saved. So Iris, because she saved all of those people, they then go on to have families that shouldn't exist. And I thought that was genius, and naturally death is coming for all of them. And maybe it's because William Bloodsworth figured it out ahead of time, so he knew he had time, because he was supposed to be the second to last person to die in that tragedy. Maybe he knew that somehow. I mean, he was friends with Iris, and Iris holed up in a bunker, I guess, Laurie Strode style, just very protected from death, and stayed there forever because she knew if she died, death would come for her family. So she was doing it to protect her family. I thought all of it was a great explanation and so well thought out. And I kind of agree that maybe it can produce some plot holes, because we know about the pregnancy in Final Destination 2, and they think that if she goes on to have her baby, it will stop the cycle. But with this new theory, obviously death would come for that baby as well, because it was not meant to be born, because it was supposed to die in the pileup. So it doesn't necessarily match up, but I feel like there are ways around it of bending the rules a little bit to make it all fit in the universe. Okay, this is really random, but I have to point this out. I was thinking the whole time with Howard and Eric, I was like, wow, that casting is great. They look just like father and son. They look so much alike. And then they go and play that prank that Howard is not Eric's biological father. What are you talking about? This man is not his father? What do you mean? I feel like that had to be a joke, right? Like, they obviously look alike. I thought that casting was great. And then, oh, sure enough, they're not even related in the movie. Anyway, like I said, random, but I had to throw that out there and see if anyone else thought the same thing as me. The ending. Let's talk about the ending. Oh my God. I loved this ending. I was laughing when the movie ended, and not in a weird way, like, haha. It was like, oh my God. Like, that was such a great way to pay homage to the train in Final Destination 3 and the log truck in Final Destination 2. I feel like the homages were great in this one. The train derailing genuinely was terrifying to watch on the big screen. And I went to like a really big movie theater where like the seats are shaking because it's so loud. Like, it was an intense scene, because that is terrifying to me. I don't know if I'm alone in that. And then my favorite death comes, and I'm sorry to say my favorite death is Stephanie and her brother getting hit by the logs from the log truck. I thought that was such a good final scene, because it blindsides you every time. Like, of course, we know the formula. No one cheats death. No one gets away from it. And we know this, you know, the same thing pretty much happened in Final Destination 3, although we don't actually get to see her death. I love the fake out ending, and I was kind of expecting them to die after all, but you know, they introduced this new theory that if you flatline, you will survive and break the cycle of death. And so that's what they thought they did, because they thought that Stephanie flatlined and her brother revived her, but her heart actually did not stop. So technically she did not die fully. And so death came for them in the worst way possible. Like, oh my God, just so violent and so tragic. But as a Final Destination fan, I was clapping. I was so excited about it, because it was just such an intense way to do it. And like, all of it was so entertaining. I did find the MRI machine. It's an MRI, right? The magnetic one. That one's a little bit unbelievable. It's up there with like the LASIK eye death for me, where it's just like a little bit improbable. Like, I just feel like the machine wouldn't work that way, and there would be like safeguards around that. But entertainment wise, yeah, that death was also really, really funny and really good, with all of his piercings getting sucked in. I thought that was great. Just all the deaths were really fun. Really, they all blindside you, all of them. And I just love the build up, especially like the barbecue scene. I thought I wouldn't like that scene because it's been in all the marketing, but you don't know who dies in that scene, but you know it's coming because of all the setups that are a little bit cheesy and ridiculous, sure. But that's Final Destination for you, right? Overall, it was a fantastic time, and I don't really know where I would rank this, because it's so hard comparing it to the others in the franchise, because I absolutely love 1, 2, and 3. And I love 5 as well, but like 1, 2, and 3 are obviously my favorites in the franchise. So maybe this would go in 4th place, and then the 5th one, and then the 4th one in last place, always. Maybe that's how I'd rank it. I don't really know. But 5 stars. 5 stars. Good job. Good installation of a Final Destination movie in the franchise. Yes, I definitely approve. I would love to hear your thoughts on this movie. I've seen a lot of love for it, so I'm very curious what my viewers think of it, or if you had any criticisms of it, or if you hated it. I would love to know all of your thoughts in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.